Wow. PGA, DGA, WGA. Anora has won all three. Hey guys, it's Brian. Welcome to the awards contender. We just got our two big winners at the WGA Awards a couple hours ago. And so I thought I would come on here today, talk to you about what these wins mean moving forward as we get very close to BAFTA. I mean, that is almost here. And then SAG and the Oscars, of course. The Writers Guild nominations and wins can be a little funky year to year because oftentimes some of the frontrunners at the Oscars and things are, for whatever reason, ineligible to even be nominated at WGA. And that happened again this year. In adapted screenplay, Conclave was ineligible, and so it's not nominated at WGA. That is, I would say, our frontrunner to win the Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay. It's probably winning at BAFTA, so that's kind of weird that Conclave isn't even there. And then in original screenplay, The Substance was deemed ineligible, and that was not nominated. The Substance, of course, won Best Original Screenplay at Critics' Choice. And I mean, I would say it's definitely in second place right now to win at the Oscars, over Anora. I've been thinking a lot the last few days, could The Substance be this year's Get Out? A genre film, a movie that's a little bit out there for the Academy, but they embraced it anyway, gave it Oscar nominations for picture, director, original screenplay, and acting category 2. Daniel Kaluuya got into Best Actor at the Oscars for that film. And Demi Moore, of course, is up for Best Actress for The Substance. Can The Substance win something for Coralie Farja? Her win at Critics' Choice was something. And so I still feel like she could maybe win the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. But the script to The Substance was ineligible at WGA, so that wasn't there. And so you have to keep that in mind when you factor in these two big wins. They're absolutely helpful, I would say, these two movies winning at WGA, which I'm going to talk about here in a moment. But, there are films year to year that win at WGA and then don't win at the Oscars. I remember when Don't Look Up won at WGA, I went, okay, that wasn't my favorite movie of 2021, but I'm it's probably going to win the Oscar now. It took WGA, but then no, that award at the Oscars went to Belfast. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean if you win at WGA, you're going to win the Oscars. In some respects, I feel like the winners in writing at BAFTA in a few short hours will be a lot more telling as to what might win at the Oscars because Conclave is nominated there in adapted and The Substance is nominated there in original. So if Anora can win over The Substance at BAFTA, that will be huge. If Conclave likely wins adapted, as we're all expecting at BAFTA, that probably means it's going to win the Oscar. I do think BAFTA is going to be more telling. But at WGA, these are still two really cool wins. Let's start with Best Adapted Screenplay. The nominees were A Complete Unknown, Dune Part 2, Hitman, Nickel Boys, and Wicked. Okay, so I was feeling like this was going to be A Complete Unknown or Nickel Boys. Both films are in Best Picture. Both films are nominated in Best Adapted Screenplay at the Oscars. Hitman, I thought, was just happy to be here. And then Dune Part 2, it didn't get the Oscar nomination. It should have. That's a great adapted screenplay for that sequel. But because it wasn't there, I was I don't think that's going to win WGA. If Wicked had won adapted screenplay at WGA, then I'd be okay, this movie has a lot of heat and momentum going into BAFTA and the Oscars. Maybe this movie will do a little bit better at the Academy Awards than we're expecting. But that was going to be tough, I think, for Wicked to win adapted screenplay. That was going to be a tough one. So it's not a surprise to me that it didn't win at WGA. But this trophy did not go to A Complete Unknown, which I was kind of leaning toward. The trophy at WGA in Adapted Screenplay went to Nickel Boys. And that's great. That film is only in 2 categories at the Oscars, Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Picture. Does winning WGA and Adapted Screenplay for Nickel Boys help that movie at all? Like maybe win at the Oscars? I just think at this point Conclave is too competitive. That movie is almost 100%, I would say, winning Adapted Screenplay at the Oscars. If it were to lose, and Nickel Boys, takes it in the end, I mean, that would be kind of a huge upset. I don't think too many people are going to be predicting that, even after this win for Nickel Boys at WGA. But that's a terrific victory for that movie. I don't talk about that film much on my channel because I actually didn't much care for Nickel Boys, to be honest. I was really, really taken with certain aspects of that film. I very much admire it, but on an emotional level, on a story level, because of the way that movie is told, it always kept me at a distance a little bit. And so you can go on to my Letterboxd. I wrote a pretty long review of that movie, 3 paragraphs, not that long, but most of my Letterboxd reviews are 2 sentences. This one went a little bit more in depth as to my feelings. So I will put that link in the description below. If you want to follow me on Letterboxd, you can go find my Nickel Boys review. But as I say in that review, if this movie gets nominated for any big awards, if it wins anything, I will be happy. I will be rooting for it. There's a lot to really like about Nickel Boys, and so I'm not like, oh God, they gave it to Nickel Boys. No. It's fine. It's fine. I mean, I personally would have given this prize at WGA to Dune Part 2. I think that's the best script of those 5. But Nickel Boys is a solid winner as well. I did think A Complete Unknown had a shot because that film has been surging, I would say, since the SAG nominations a few weeks ago, and then it overperforming on Oscar nominations morning, getting into supporting actress and doing really well. I thought, that movie could win a couple things this season that some of us might not be expecting. And because Conclave was not nominated at WGA in Adapted Screenplay, I thought, okay, well, at the Oscars, I was kind of feeling like if there's any movie that could maybe overtake Conclave in this category, I thought it might be A Complete Unknown, even though it has a lot of songs in it. And that's tricky when you're trying to win a screenplay prize and people are singing all the time. It's I don't know. But I just thought because of the popularity of that film, because it's surging, maybe it could win at the Oscars, in a giant upset. I do think if A Complete Unknown had won at WGA, I'd be there'd be a little bit. I mean, we'll see what happens at BAFTA in a few hours. But Nickel Boys, I don't see that winning. I don't see it pulling a Women Talking from 2 years ago. Remember Women Talking, we thought that might get into an acting category, maybe 3 or 4 nominations. It only got into picture and adapted screenplay, but it still won adapted screenplay for Sarah Polley, and that was a great moment. I think part of the reason she won was that adapted screenplay 2 years ago at the Oscars just wasn't very competitive. Living wasn't gonna win. Top Gun Maverick wasn't gonna win adapted screenplay. So there wasn't 3 or 4 films there that could have easily taken it. Women Talking just made the most sense. So that was cool. That was really cool for Sarah Polley to win that with her movie only getting those 2 nominations. I mean, that's kind of tricky. If your film is only nominated in 2 places, to win a top prize, that doesn't happen very often, but it happened for Sarah Polley, Women Talking. I don't think it happens for Nickel Boys, again, just because Conclave, it's just too big. It's too much of a juggernaut, a film that could potentially win some huge prizes at BAFTA in a few hours, and not just adapted screenplay. That could potentially win director. It could win picture, we'll see. So yeah, I mean, As of right now, I'm not feeling Conclave for Best Picture at the Oscars. I don't think that's going to happen. Like, even if it does really well at BAFTA, I don't know. But yeah, I think because Conclave is so big, it's still winning probably BAFTA, Oscars, and Adapted Screenplay. But this is still a fantastic win for Nickel Boys. That's very, very cool. All right, so let's move on to Best Original Screenplay at WGA. I think most of us knew what was winning this. I think it was pretty obvious. When The Substance wasn't here, I was like, okay, well, what could beat Anora? The nominees in Original Screenplay at WGA were A Real Pain, Anora, Challengers, Civil War, and My Old Ass. So obviously, like, I was really thrilled to see 2 of my 10 favorite films of 2024 get in here that really, like, haven't been a big part of the season, part of the awards conversation, Challengers and Civil War. Both of those movies are in my top 10. And like Civil War, I mean, that movie has not shown up like anywhere. And I didn't really expect it to. Like, it came out way back last April. So did Challengers. That was an April release. Challengers, like, at least it got into the Golden Globes in a few places. It won score at the Globes. I'm never going to forgive you, Academy, for not nominating the score to Challengers. But, like, I don't know. I mean, Civil War was never going to win at WGA. My Old Ass was not going to win. That was just happy to be here. I felt like the top 3 were Anora, A Real Pain, and Challengers. I mean, in some ways, I thought, man, what if Challengers won at WGA over Anora? Like, that would be like, whoa, what? I mean, you would have gotten, like, a huge reaction out of me in this video right now. I would have been like, I might have been like running around the room. I don't know. Because I love that movie so much. I just put out a tweet about it a few hours ago just for fun. Just like something kind of goofy and funny. And it's got like 15,000 likes. I'm like, oh my God. Like, Jesus Christ. You know, it's funny when I'll tweet something. I'll just like have a thought and I'll tweet it. And I'll think, oh, maybe that'll get like 80 likes or something. And then I look a few hours later and I'm like, oh my God. Like, people are really engaging with this. It's kind of intense sometimes, I'm telling you. But yeah, Challengers, my number 3 favorite film of 2024. I mean, that would have been awesome. I mean, I wonder if Anora wasn't here, could Challengers have beat A Real Pain at WGA? Like, maybe that could have happened. But no, I you know, in some ways, I do think Challengers was like, you know, some of these others, just happy to be here. Because A Real Pain is also nominated at the Oscars in Original Screenplay, that had to be looked at as second place, you know. Even though that movie didn't get into Best Picture like some of us thought it would at the Oscars, that's definitely second place here. A Real Pain is a terrific movie too. It didn't quite make my top 10, but it's in my second 10. I really enjoyed that film. I think like the big win for that film on Oscars night is Best Supporting Actor for Kieran Culkin. Original Screenplay, like just like Jesse Eisenberg getting in there, that's his win, is just the nomination at the Oscars. Because if there's any film, I think, that can beat Anora at the Oscars in Original Screenplay, it's The Substance, you know, as I talked about earlier in this video. I think that's the one movie that could win, especially with Farja also in director. I am starting to feel like a Get Out vibe when it comes to The Substance. Like, it could win Original Screenplay, even if Anora goes on to win at the Oscars Best Director and Best Picture. Like, I still think The Substance could maybe win Best Original Screenplay. But at WGA, it's not here, and of course, the winner in Original Screenplay at WGA, as all of us expected, was Anora for Sean Baker. So, you know, I mean, geez Louise, like just a little over a week ago, I was like, is Anora just not gonna win anything? Like, it can't win Screenplay, a Critics' Choice, it can't, like... I'm just like, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone here. This is the best film of the year. It's the greatest film of 2024, and it's just like, it doesn't win anything at the Globes. It's not winning anything at Critics' Choice. Like, I kept checking my phone. I wasn't at home watching the ceremony, Critics' Choice, and when Picture came up, I'm scrolling like, oh, okay, it's gonna be, Conclave or Brutalist or something. And it went to frickin' Anora. That was so exciting. And I still felt in that moment like this might be it. This might be Anora's big win of the season. Best Picture at Critics' Choice. But then the next night, it wins both PGA and DGA. And a week later, it wins WGA. Like, it's got all three. Like, the same movie got all three. That does not happen every year. Like, even Oppenheimer could not win a WGA, right? So, I don't know. What does this mean for the Oscars? We all have to see what happens at BAFTA, If Anora at BAFTA wins screenplay, director, and picture, it's over, folks. It is so freaking over. Like, the Oscars, like, Anora is taking it all in those three categories. And if it at the Oscars can win editing, Sean Baker will win 4 trophies, 4 Academy Awards for Anora. That I don't think that's ever happened before in the history of the Academy Awards. The same person winning 4 gold trophies for one movie. I think Walt Disney won 4 Oscars in the same night, but for different projects. Bong Joon-ho, I think, got 3 for Parasite. He didn't take home 4 for that. So a week ago, I was like, can Sean Baker at the Oscars at least win original screenplay? Can't we give him like something for that great film? And it's totally possible right now. We'll see what happens at BAFTA. It is possible Sean Baker is going to win 4 Oscars for Anora. Like, that is crazy. Especially since, like, at the Globes and stuff, like Anora did not have a good start to the season, For us to be at that point, I don't really think that's going to happen. I would be surprised if they go all in on Anora in that regard. We'll see if Sean Baker wins director at BAFTA. He might not win there. I'm currently predicting Brady Corbet will win director for The Brutalist at BAFTA. But if Baker wins in that category and he also takes screenplay there, I don't know, man. I'm hoping like Corbet wins director at BAFTA and Farja wins original screenplay. So we have some races. So we go into the Oscars not quite sure, like, will Anora really win all of those big prizes? Or maybe it's only going to win 1 or 2. We shall see. I don't know. Like, BAFTA is going to be really helpful because, some of us, we don't really know. Like, especially with actress, with director, we have our thoughts and, maybe some predictions, early predictions. I mean, these huge wins for Anora at PGA, DGA, and now WGA does absolutely help that movie's momentum going forward, especially in those categories. I've been very intrigued to see, like, will these big wins carry over to Best Actress for Mikey Madison, who has not won a big televised prize yet? All our eyes are on Best Actress at BAFTA right now. Like, will Demi win there too? If Demi Moore wins at BAFTA, I think that race is over. I think she's going to win at SAG and she's going to win the Oscar. If Mikey Madison wins Best Actress at BAFTA, then, we have a race there. Then, a lot of different things can happen. So, I don't know. But I'm just, as I come to the end of this video, I just want to say just how thrilled I am at how well Anora is doing right now. When a little over a week ago, I thought it might be dead. I was really sad about that because I love that movie so much. For it to now have PGA, DGA, and WGA is crazy. That's freaking awesome. I love it. So, yeah, I really like that Nickel Boys won a big prize this season. Adapted screenplay at WGA. That's great. And for Anora to take WGA after now having also won PGA and DGA, it is so freaking fantastic. And yeah, let's see what happens at BAFTA. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these WGA wins for Nickel Boys and Anora and I will see you next time at the Awards Contender.